Happy New Year. This is the first video in the new year. I hope I'd be back on the somewhat weekly schedule I had going on before the new year. That kind of felt good. I will try to keep that up as much as I can. Today is another video with another issue of mine, which is kind of the theme of this series, like problems I had in my past, and most of them I still have, and the way I think about them and some approaches I found along the way to help them. Today's problem is arpeggios, and you could rightfully think, how can anybody have a problem with arpeggios, especially if you play for a long time already. But I had a problem with arpeggios for a long time, and still have, because I felt I never had a real efficient way of practicing them. I kind of fell into it, and then someone showed me one thing and I stuck for that for way too long. It's one of those things a lot of guitarists have, and I have in a lot of my stuff. I picked up stuff very early when I was studying in college, or even before that, like studying from DVDs or books or teachers. And some of that is great, but some of that I kind of just capped and never really challenged and tried to improve. So I'm kind of stuck in a certain way of doing a certain thing, even if there's maybe a way more efficient or better way to do that. And today's thing is kind of one of those ideas. The way I used to play arpeggios was just kind of like starting from the root a lot. Like, for example, I had like a C major, I had the root somewhere here, and then I would just go play C major up, and then maybe down, and then I would do the same thing from a different place on the root, maybe from the E string, and then I maybe would go from the D string. There's nothing wrong with playing arpeggios like that, and you have to start from somewhere, but there's many things I would do now differently. For example, when I tried later on in more jazz or blues context, or fusion, or whatever you want to call it, very often you don't want to play from the root, because chances are you have a bass player with you, or you have someone who comps you, and in general the root is kind of somewhat the least interesting note, and somewhat the least important note in certain situations to play. So I tried to start from different notes, so I maybe started from the third of that same kind of thing, went up to the third again, but I never had like a routine, a system and to go with that, or to make that kind of like how can I practice that really, how can I go through many combinations, through different combinations, and challenge myself. And the thing that I'm using now I got from a video and a personal lesson from Lage Lund. He has some great videos on a website called My Music Masterclass. If you after this in the mood for a real guitar class, if you're after this in the mood for a real guitar lesson, go to mymusicmasterclass.com and check out some of his videos and other people's videos. They're phenomenal. And he talks about this there, and he talked to me about it in a lesson. It's kind of like, it's nothing magical, but it's really, really efficient in practicing arpeggios. And I show you the way it works. So first of all, you pick like a certain type of chord or arpeggio like you want to work on. Like, let's say for easiness sake now we want to work on minor 7 arpeggios. So we have the notes like root, flat 3, 5 and flat 7. Okay, you pick a note. We start on the low E string. You can start anywhere. I pick the note A, and I'd say I play minor 7 from 1 all the way up. So I go A, C, E, G, A, C, E, G, A. Okay? If you can, even if you have to do it slowly at the start, but if you can, really try to either say out the chord tones loud, or at least say them in your head. That's like one of the best advices I ever got. Like, that really helps you a lot. And then you go backwards, same thing, A, G, E, C, A, G, E, C, A. So you might think now, I knew that already. Like, why do I watch this video? The next part is the interesting part. So for the next arpeggio, we go a semitone up. We go from A to B flat here, but we also go one step up in terms of the function of the chord. So B flat is now not the root, because then it would be kind of the same thing we just did, just a fret higher, but it becomes now the flat 3. So first of all, you have to think, what's B flat to flat 3 of? So it's G minor. So think of the notes of G minor, and then we play B flat, D, F, G, B flat, D, F, G, B flat. So you have this now. So you basically practicing G minor now from the minor third on B flat. So then you go another semitone up to B natural. this one becomes your fifth now. Okay, so what's B natural the fifth of is your first thought. Okay, it's E, so we play E minor 7. So we play B, D, E, G, B, D, E, G, B. Some of them have multiple ways of working with that. Like I played opening up the guitar to the right. You could also open it up to the other side. You could go like B, D, E, G, B, D, E, G, B. So sometimes there's two different ways of playing it. Over time you will learn both of it. We go one more semitone up, ending up at C. This is now the C is now the flat 7. So what's C the flat 7 of? It's D minor 7. Okay, and now you went through four times chromatically up through and started from each function of the chord. So you're doing a lot of work. You're doing mental work, thinking what is like such and such the fifth off, which chord I'm actually dealing with. You're saying out the chord tones in your head or out loud. You're also going through all the different places you can start an arpeggio, and you're going chromatically up, so you're covering a lot of ground in terms of like going through all the 12 keys with that one chord. You obviously can start it from any other string. So after you did like on the E string, you might start on the A string, start on G here, so G minor from the root. Then the next one would be A flat from the minor third, so that would be F minor. And then like A is your fifth now, so that's D minor. And you can do that with anything. The great thing about that is really thinking about the chord tones, because you also can do it downwards, which is kind of the same thing. Start here on a G, you go G minor downwards. A flat downwards is F minor. Like I'm doing the same thing, like root, then flat 3. And saying the chord tones is really important. For some of those chords I picked out, they might be very easy and you might know all those chords. But sometimes, especially if you do a different chord type than a minor 7 chord, let's say you do a minor 7 flat 5 arpeggios, and suddenly you're on a high E string and it's the note C, and you say that's the flat 5. So suddenly you have to think, what's C the flat 5 of? And then you go, oh, okay, it's G flat or F sharp or however you want to think about it. And you go... This really helps you, especially if you go into more complicated chords like sharp 11 chords, sharp 5 chords, minor major 7 chords, all of that, where you suddenly, especially if you kind of in weirder keys, you really have to use your brain. So this is not a very flashy exercise. It's not like an arpeggio exercise, like where you go. It's nothing like that. Like it's not a show-off exercise for the sound check. Although this is kind of a jazz channel, so that most likely won't be a sound check. And there certainly won't be anybody to impress there. But this is more like something at home, like a studious exercise. Go through chord tones, go through different types of chords, and it really, really helps out with your knowledge about the fretboard, with your knowledge about arpeggios, and rounds it more. You will be so much, like I did it for a month or two, and well, I'm still doing it, but like even after doing it for a month, I got so much more flexible with my use of arpeggios and my overall knowledge of it. It helped a lot. I hope this helped you. Maybe put it in your daily routine or your weekly routine or however often you practice. And check out the Lage Lund videos on my music masterclass if you want to get to the source of this and like the real stuff. And I hope you enjoy, and I hope to see you in the next video next week, hopefully. All right, take care.